Hi, everyone, and thank you again for joining us. Remember, if you are or have been a victim of a violent crime in United States and you don't have immigration status, we can help you. We are Mil Mujeres Legal Services, a nonprofit organization with over 15 years of experience service in the Hispanic community in the United States. And today, we have a very special guest, Sheriff Maxwell. Sheriff Maxwell has served with the Montgomery County Sheriff Office since June 1994, serving in every division with the Sheriff Office to include the Administrative Service, Civil, Criminal, Child Support Enforcement, Family, and Court Services Division. Welcome to Mil Mujeres, Official Maxwell.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Well, today we have a lot to cover in this encounter. So we will discuss two important topics. First of all, how the office works with the community, and the second is how the office functions as a law enforcement agency. But before this, we would like to briefly introduce yourself, officer, and tell you us a little about yourself and how long you have been sheriff.
Oh, absolutely. Well, thank you again. I appreciate the invitation to speak today to the viewers. Again, my name is Maxwell Uy. And I originally grew up in the Bay Area, San Francisco Bay Area in California. But I joined the military out of high school, and I found myself stationed out here on the East Coast at Fort Myer. And after my military service, I always wanted to serve in law enforcement. And I was fortunate, as you mentioned, to be hired by the Montgomery County Sheriff's Office in Maryland in June of 1994. So I'm now in my 32nd, working on my 32nd year with the Sheriff's Office. And as you've already mentioned, I've had the ability to serve in many different roles here in the Sheriff's Office. One of my favorite assignments was I had the opportunity to teach at our police academy with our county police partners. And it was just a wonderful experience to be a positive a part of training young deputies and officers as they're coming into the law enforcement field. More recently in my career, I was the chief deputy or the colonel for the previous sheriff, who was Sheriff Darren Hopkins. And I served in that role for a few years. He decided that he was going to retire, and I ran for sheriff. This is an elected position, unlike our county police chief, which is an appointed position. And was successfully elected in 2022. So I'm in my first term. I will be running again. So if the voters of Montgomery County think we're doing a good job, I would be privileged to continue to serve as sheriff.
Congratulations, Sheriff. Congratulations. This is a very special information for the community. So because a citizen, sometimes we don't have more knowledge about our law enforcement officers, and this is nice to know your career. So now, one more thing about your role. So tell us, please, a little about what the sheriff's office does right now, or what it does.
No, absolutely. So in Montgomery County, the Montgomery County Sheriff's Office is the oldest law enforcement agency. It was originally established in 1777. Our county police were formed in 1922. So for that period of time, the sheriff's office was the law enforcement in Montgomery County. Today, in 2025, the sheriff's office is the law enforcement arm of the courts. So if your viewers need law enforcement assistance and they call 911, they're more likely to have a county police officer respond, or perhaps an officer in Gaithersburg or Rockville, Chevy Chase, or Tacoma Park. But they may get a deputy. They may. But our role is to support the court system. So we don't run the jails in Montgomery County. That's the Department of Corrections. But if somebody who's incarcerated needs to go to court, or they have a medical appointment, our deputies will ensure that they're safely go to those things. We also provide security and safety here in our circuit court, as well as we work with our other courthouses. There's 2 district courts in Montgomery County, and there's a circuit court in Montgomery County. We're also heavily involved in civil process. So if one of your viewers has a court case against somebody and they need to have them served or provided information, a court order, our deputies will go and do that. They also handle what are known as evictions in the county, and that's always a concern of mine because we have an obligation to serve court orders, but we also don't we don't look forward to removing families. So we want to work very closely, and I know we'll probably talk about this later, with our other advocates to assist residents if they're facing eviction. We also try to apprehend wanted subjects or fugitives. So if somebody commits serious crimes, the sheriff's office may be assigned a warrant to try to arrest that person if they're committing serious crimes. And we have plainclothes deputies that attempt to do that. And one of our last sections is our divisions is over at our family division, and we oversee operations at our Family Justice Center. And we'll probably talk a little bit more about that in a bit. But our Family Justice Center provides services to residents who may be survivors or victims of family or domestic violence. And we have deputies in that division that will attempt to serve these protective orders. Sometimes they may arrest abusers. We also provide support to the survivors and the families in those types of situations.
So I have a question with the last information that you give us about the Center for Families. So in case of unfortunately, this situation happen daily, domestic violence, how the people affected can contact you for this help directly with the sheriff office or with the Center Justice for Family?
Yeah, so they can, if they go to the sheriff's office website, there are a number of information options, and they can select information for the Family Justice Center. I will provide that phone number is 240-773-0444. So 240-773-0444. And that number, somebody will answer that number during business hours, Monday through Friday. However, there's also a 24-hour number to the sheriff's office, and that's 240-777-7000. So again, 240-777-7000. If somebody contacts the Family Justice Center, we do have staff that are bilingual in Spanish and English. We have resources also in Spanish, and we do a lot of support to our immigrant communities who are unfortunately oftentimes victimized or find themselves victimized.
Thank you. So, officer, sometimes the people, so the first contact that the victims has with the officers, the law enforcement, is called 991. So you have contact or received this information to attend a situation, for example, domestic violence cases?
So what often will happen is if a victim calls 911, they're likely to get a county officer or a city officer responding. And those officers, when they're dealing with the situation, many times they will provide additional information to the victim to educate them that they can go maybe and get a protective order, or they can reach out to the Family Justice Center for services. And that's often how we get involved, because if a victim or survivor seeks those services, like goes to court to get a protective order or contacts the Family Justice Center directly, our client assistance specialists will help guide them through how we can assist them with their situation.
Thank you for this clarification. Well, officer, I would now like to ask you about the projects where the sheriff office has been for this year and how working right now with the community.
Yes. So when I was elected at the end of 2022, one of the things I really wanted to do is ensure that we continue and expand our outreach to communities. So our recruiting section works very closely with our Family Justice Center staff. So if there's a large event, for instance, this weekend, there is a event in Wheaton, a friendship picnic, where we'll be there, working with the community to provide information not only on how we can provide services, but also to try to recruit young men and women who may want to get into law enforcement and who may not know about the sheriff's office.
Okay, so in this alliance with the Center Justice for Families, what challenge or barriers have you encountered in working with the community, maybe with the Hispanic community or other communities, and how you have overcome them?
So every opportunity to speak with the community, and this is a perfect example, right? With Mil Mujeres, that we want to assure our community. For instance, we are not engaged in immigration enforcement. That's not something that the sheriff's office or our local law enforcement agencies are involved in. We want to make sure that our community has trust with their law enforcement officers, that they feel comfortable reporting crime or if they're victimized, and that they also feel comfortable seeking services, because we do not, we want to make sure we're being responsive regardless of immigration status, for instance.
Thank you. So now Mil Mujeres work every time with the Latino immigrants who have been victims of domestic violence, sexual assault, abuse, and many other crimes upon arriving to the United States. Most of these people, during their experience, suffer trauma, fear, and the barrier of language is so hard to manage for them. What message you will give to our Latino community?
Well, again, I want to reassure anyone in our community who may be fearful of some of the developments that they see, or if they ever feel that they're being targeted or being subject to hate crimes or anything like that, that they're comfortable either reaching out to their local law enforcement or other support areas. Montgomery County has a lot of different areas and departments to support, whether it's housing or our crisis center to support our communities that may be dealing with crisis. I would also mention, in addition to being, September is an important month, right? It's also Suicide Awareness Month. So, many in our community are dealing with traumas and crisis, and there's a national hotline, 988, that your viewers may or may not know about. But if they call 988, they can also get support and somebody that can talk to them if they're in some type of a crisis.
Thank you for this important message. And yes, this September is the awareness of suicide. So it is so important to spread this information with all the community. So finally, Officer Maxwell, could you please remind again how the community can access the sheriff office's services, the phone number, everybody knows what is the 911, but the direct number of the sheriff office, even attend 24 hours, or the Center Justice for Families.
Absolutely. So again, you've already mentioned it. If you do have an emergency, please call 911. Okay. If you have an emergency, please call 911. And one of the first things you should say is where you're located, so that if for some reason you're disconnected, the law enforcement officers know where to go, right? So that's the first thing. If it's not an emergency, but you're trying to get additional information, you can call 240-777-7000 or the sheriff's office. You can also, if you need to report a crime and it's not an emergency, you can call 240-777-8000. And that's the non-emergency line to the county police. And finally, our Family Justice Center phone number is 240-773-0444.
Thank you, officer. And remember, for all the audience, nobody asks you about your status. Nobody asks you what is your born. It's completely important that you understand. If you are on a situation, dangerous situation, or maybe you are a victim of crime, domestic, sexual assault, or any other crime, please contact the law agencies like a sheriff office, and they are very, very interested in help you. So this content is really interesting, and we learn a lot, in specific for the actions that take the sheriff office in Montgomery County. This information serves a lot of people right now, but the time is up. And thank you so much, Officer Maxwell. On behalf of the entire organization, thank you so much for your time and this clarification with the offices, with your work in the community and the other agencies that work with you. Thank you for your participation today and for sharing this valuable information.
Oh, you're welcome. It's a pleasure.
Thank you so much. And we hope the entire audience will share, please, this video. And remember, if you need help, you can contact us via our hot contact line is 202-803311, or through our social media accounts. Mil Mujeres is always by your side. Thank you and see you next time.